Hello and welcome to Elevate 2020. This is the PowerBuilder 2019 R3 using Google Cloud Source Repositories and Git with PowerBuilder session, and my name is Kevin Ridley. There's a quick disclaimer. Okay, session agenda. First thing we're going to do is within Google Cloud Source, we're going to create a project. And after we've created a project, within that project, we're going to create a repository. And then we're going to clone that repository to the local computer. And we're going to add code. If it's a new repository, we're going to add code to that folder that was just created. And then we're going to connect to PowerBuilder using Git and TortoiseGIT. We're going to push the code to Google Cloud Source. And then we're going to create branches, and we'll show you the difference between creating branches in PowerBuilder 19 R2 and R3. And we'll do a demo, full demo, including everything, including the enhancements in R3, which I think people will like. There's some good Git enhancements. Okay, about me. As I said, my name is Kevin Ridley. Here on the left, you'll see my LinkedIn profile. That's the best way to get in touch with me if you need to reach me. I try not to use Twitter. Facebook account is here. And key skills. So I've been doing PowerBuilder for over 25 years, since version 3. In 2018 and 2019, I was a PowerBuilder MVP. Also using PowerServer, and have used EA Server, a lot of fun projects back in the day. Active Directory, SQL, web services, including SOAP and REST, OAuth, and Java and messaging. So a couple, some recent projects. This year I did an integration with the PowerBuilder and PowerServer app with Populi service, and they had a REST API and connected to that using HTTP client. Also did an Active Directory project where we replaced the current database user ID password authentication with Active Directory. Last year did a Salesforce project using their REST API with the HTTP client and OAuth client. In 2018, something similar with Microsoft Dynamics REST API, and that was in PowerBuilder 2017 app and using HTTP client and OAuth client. Okay, about my company. Company name is Aomega Solutions LLC. It is my own company, and I do both contract work and also independent short-term project work. So again, if you need to reach me, you can use the LinkedIn profile I mentioned earlier and just send me a message on there and I'll get back to you. Okay, so there are some fee and free options on Google Cloud. Here's a listing of some of the free options here with a link if you want to try that out. The account I'm using for this demo is going to be a paid for account, so it should be the same with a free account, but I haven't tried that. So, alright, here's some things we're going to need. First of all, obviously we need to download and install Git. After that, I like to restart the computer. A lot of times Git needs a restart in order to work properly. Next thing we need is to download and install the Google Cloud SDK. There's a link for that. Grab a sandwich or something that takes quite a while to install. And then we have TortoiseGIT, which probably a lot of people are already familiar with, but here's the download link for that. Alright, some assumptions. Obviously you need a Google Cloud account, and within that account you need to set up an organization, and you want to set up a user as a source repository administrator. And then we're going to install the three things I mentioned before, the Google Cloud SDK, Git, and TortoiseGIT. Alright, so to create a new project, you can either search for a project, and you see I have a couple here, or you can click the button to create a new project. And if you create a new project, you just type in the name and you go from there. I've already got 2, so I'm going to use one of those. Alright, so after you create your project, you're going to come over here and you're going to click on the little blue ellipse here on the left, and you'll see Source Repositories, and you select that. And from there you can do all repositories, and you can take a look at the ones I've got already. And you'll see on the right over here there's an Add Repository button. So it's pretty easy. You're just going to click this button, and then you're going to select Create New Repository and continue. And you're going to type the name of your repository. In this case, I'm doing Resize_service. And this is basically a drop down. It doesn't look like one, but if you click in this box, you'll be able to select which project. And then here's another option. You can create the project here as well. All right, and then you're going to click Create, and you'll be all set. So now, adding code to the repository. So one important thing here is you have to be on this second tab here in the Google Cloud SDK to get the directions to do it right. And you're gonna select clone your repository to a local Git, unless you're going from another Git repository, and then you can push from a local here. But in this case, we're creating a new one and we're cloning it, so you're going to select the clone, and you can copy the G Cloud instructions here. First thing you're going to do is G Cloud init, and we'll go through that. So you're going to open up a command prompt. I like to open up command prompt as administrator in case sometimes when they do a Google Cloud SDK update, if you're not logged in as administrator, it won't update properly. So this is where you do your G Cloud init, and you follow through these here. You can also do the option where you --skip -diagnostics, and you won't get all these messages. Then it'll say choose which account to perform the operations with. Here's my account I'm going to use, so I select one, and then you have to pick a project. In this case, I'm going to pick 2 because that's the one that we've been using. And I'm not sure what this is, the default compute region, so I say no. And there you go, and then that does your initialization. So after that, you're going to copy to your local hard drive. So what you want to do is change directory in the command prompt till you get to just below where you want your folder to be. So I'm going to clone the Resize service. It's going to create a folder for me called Resize_service. So I want to navigate to where I want that folder to reside. So in my case, I do everything under pbdev and pb2019 folder. And then the command is gcloud source repos clone, and then the name of the repo that you want to clone, and then -- project equals, and then your project name. And once you do that, it'll tell you that you have an empty repository, which is fine. Obviously, we just created it, so we know it's empty. And then it'll tell you, give you all your success, that I copied objects, and you're all set. So now what we have is an initialized local Git, and it's in that folder that we specified, the Resize service folder. So now what we want to do is copy our pibbles and all our other PowerBuilder application object type stuff into that folder. So once you do that, you're going to manually, like I said here, manually add to source control, commit, and push so the other developers can access. And so the first time you want to add the pibble, and then after that you want to create a git ignore file, and you can do your own things, but I like to do startup Pibble, startup PBD, and you can add your own anything else that you don't want to upload. So after we do that, we're going to commit and push again, which will push the git ignore file. And now your repository is ready for multiple developers. And the good thing about this is if you make a mistake, all you have to do is delete that whole directory. So I would delete the Resize_service directory and then start over again with our clone and etc. Okay, so for additional developers, you're going to do basically the same thing. You're going to install all three things, the Git, Google Cloud SDK, and the TortoiseGIT. Then you're going to run that gcloud init, and you're going to also do the gcloud source repo clone. And at this point, it's going to have code in the folder because you're copying something that's already been pushed up to the cloud. Okay, and again, like I said, be sure you're in the correct folder before you do that gcloud the clone. Once you've done the clone, you're going to open PowerBuilder by double-clicking on the PBW file inside the folder, and then it'll carry all the settings forward for you. You're going to go in and verify the source control is set up by doing properties on the workspace object. And when you do that, you're going to select the source control tab. And if it doesn't have the settings already, all you have to do is again right-click on the workspace and do add to source control. And then you're going to select Git. And we'll cover this in the demo. All right, so we'll go to source.cloud.google.com. And here's a funny thing with the Google Cloud. If you have multiple Google accounts, sometimes it'll log you into another one. So I'm going to select the one that is actually the account I use for the source. Close the original browser, and here we go. So we select all repositories. So what I'm going to do here is I have the Resize service repository already created. So I'm going to go in and delete it. And really the only time we'll do a delete for a repository is when you're going to start over. Okay, so from here, if you have the administrator privilege, you can go to Cloud Console, which we're going to do. And we'll show you how to create a project. As you saw earlier, there's really two ways to do it. You can do it while you're adding a repository, or you can do it here. And you can say new project and type in the name of your project, your organization, and location it pre-fills for you. And then you would click create. I'm going to use one that I already have, so we won't have to do that. Okay, and then you can either go back to the other screen, or you can here click this. I don't know if they call it an ellipse or whatever. It's like the phone drop downs for actions. And you select source repository. I need a list of all my repositories, and now you'll see that the Resize service is gone. So what we're going to do is click add repository over here. And we want to create a new repository. And this connect to external is obviously if you're going to move something from like GitHub or something like that. You can select that and you can move it over. But we're going to create a new one. Continue, repository name, we'll say Resize service. Project, again, you click in here and it'll give you your options. I'm going to select one that I'm already using, or you can create a new one here as well. So we will click create. And here we go. Now our repository is created, and now we want to clone it locally. So before I do that, I have the repository already set up on this machine, so I'm going to get rid of that. And pdev pv2019 and resize service. So I'm going to delete the whole folder, and then I'll get rid of the local repository I had as well. Okay, so now here you have your different authentication methods. We're going to use Google Cloud SDK, like I mentioned earlier. And then when you click on that, you have your, it shows you what you need to do to initialize your repository. So basically, you're going to do the gcloud init like we mentioned earlier. You're going to do your gcloud source repos clone, and then your name of your repo and your project. And then you're going to switch to your new folder. Now, at this point, you can push through the gcloud using Git, or this command line here, or what I recommend is using TortoiseGIT. All right, so now we've created it. Now we're going to copy it local. So we're going to create a command prompt. And I like to run as administrator, like I mentioned before, just in case you get a message to update your SDK. You need to be administrator. Okay, and again, you can go back here, keep this page open. You can just copy and paste for the commands. I've already initialized on this machine, so it's going to ask me if I want to reinitialize. Make that a little bigger. Sometimes it takes a while, probably especially while you're recording, I'm assuming. So it asks you which account you want to use. It's telling, well, actually, it's already selected my actual account. And whether you want to reinitialize or create a new one, we're going to reinitialize. You'll create a new one the first time. And again, like I mentioned, if you don't want some of these diagnostic messages, you can do the -- skip diagnostics. Now it asks you which account you want to use, and I do want to select one. Which project? I'm going to use the one I mentioned before. That's number 2 there. And then this region, I usually say no. And there we go. Now we're initialized. Now the next thing we want to do is clone the repository. So we'll come back here and get the command. Copy. And we'll actually, before we do that, like I mentioned, you want to be in the directory that you want the repository set up in. So I'm going to get out of here. Okay, so now there is a folder I want to be in, and it's going to create this folder for me under that. So now I'll paste, and we do gcloud source repos clone, and then the name of the repository, resize service, and the project, -- project equals and the project name. Okay, and like I said, this is going to create a folder called resize service in that PV2019 folder. And you get this warning message: you appear to have cloned an empty repository. And that's okay. We know we hadn't pushed anything to that. If we had already pushed something to that from another PC or something, or another user may have already set it up, then we would already have some code in there and it wouldn't be empty. So that's all we need to do from here. So I'll exit out, and we'll go in. you'll see Resize service, and it's already under source control. So we'll open it, and you'll see it's blank. So if you go back here, I'm going to copy the code I need in there, and it's in this folder here. And I need the Resize Pibble, the project, and do I have a workspace for it? I don't have a workspace for it specifically, so I'll just copy those. Put them here. Okay, now we'll open up PowerBuilder and create a new workspace. To workspace. And we'll navigate to where we need to be. And we want to put it in the Resize service folder. And we'll just call it Resize.pbw. And it already knows that. Okay, we will add the target. There we go. So now we've got our application set up. So now we will see that it's not yet connected to source control by doing properties on the workspace, and you'll see none. And in the drop-down, you even have a choice to select Git, which is fine. We will right-click on the workspace again and select Add to Source Control. We'll select Git in the drop-down, and author and author name and email. And we'll just do something like initial load. And we'll say master. It's the master branch. All right. And now if we expand this, we'll see all of the objects are now under source control. They're local. So now what we're going to want to do is go back in. And we will push using TortoiseGIT. So we'll say TortoiseGIT and push. So we're going to push from our local master to our remote master. And now we're pushing everything up to Google Cloud. And there we go. So now if we go back here, and we go into the Resize service. We'll refresh, and there now we'll see we've got the Pibble, the target, the workspace, and we've got the WS objects, which has all our individual objects. So now what we want to do is create a git ignore file and push that up. So we'll just say new text document. We'll call it, actually we can call it anything. Edit it, and we'll put what we want to block. We'll do PBDs and Pibble for now. Oops. Okay, and then we'll just do save as. We will say all files, and it's got to be called .git ignore. Sorry. And we'll save that. All right, now we'll get rid of the EF file. That was nothing, and here we go. So now we want to add that to source control. It's not a PowerBuilder object, so you have to add it through TortoiseGIT. We will commit. And you have two options. You can push right from here, or you can close, go back here, and do push. Go master to master again. And there we go. So one difference between version 2 and R2 and R3, I should say, is if you want to create a branch in R2, you would do another push, and you would change this to something like development maybe. And then select OK, and it'll push up and it'll create a new branch since it didn't find one named development. It'll create one and it'll add the code to it. I'm not going to do that right now because I'm going to show you how to do it in R3. And we're also going to show you how to connect another user. So we'll have the other user using R3. You'd probably never develop with R2 and R3 at the same time, but we're just going to show you that basically we're going to simulate another user on another machine by using the R3. And then we're going to go over some of the R3 features. Okay, now we're on the second machine. This is the one that has the PowerBuilder 2019 R3 on it. So on this machine, I've been having some trouble with the video lagging on our capture here. So I'm going to try to talk about everything we're going to do and then do it, and hopefully it won't be too much lag. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to pretend we're a different developer here on another machine, and we're going to initialize our local repository. We're going to copy it down. We're going to clone the cloud repository, and then we're going to open up. So that'll pull down the code that we've already pushed up there, and then we're going to double click on the workspace, which will start PowerBuilder, and we'll see that the Git settings are already there, and we're ready to do development. So from there, we're going to make a change, and we're going to save it. We're also going to create a new branch. So I'll show you in PowerBuilder R3, we can create branches right inside PowerBuilder, whereas in R2 we have to go out and do it in TortoiseGIT. So then we're going to show you how you can also switch branches in PowerBuilder 2019 R3, and also how you can see what branch you're working with right inside of PowerBuilder, which you can't do in R2. Alright, so and then we're going to create a development branch. We're going to make a change. We're going to switch to that branch. Then we're going to make a change to a window, save it, and then we're going to push up to the development branch on the cloud. And then we're going to be done with this machine. We'll go back on the other machine and see how it looks. So we're doing our G Cloud init. Reinitialize. So we're in master, create a branch. So push from local development to remote development. And I hope we're in sync with the video. Okay, now we're back on the R2 machine. And we're going to switch branches here. Right click TortoiseGIT, switch checkout. We're going to get the remote development branch, and we're going to do an overwrite in case it was there before, which I've done some test passes at this, so I'm going to overlay whatever's there anyway. And there we go, success. Now, if we go here and we just open this W-test, we'll see it is button face, the background. And why? Because this is not R3. With R2, you need to refresh after you do a get or a switch branch. And now, actually, now if we open it, now it should be Aqua. And there we go. Alright, so now if I change it back, let's make it something like maroon. We'll save it. And we'll commit. Change color to maroon. Okay. And now we will push. We'll go from local development to remote development. And there we go. So now you can see what it's like for two different developers on two different machines using the Google repository. And that concludes the demo. Here's some Appeon links. And I want to thank everyone for checking out the video. Everyone stay safe and have a great day. Thank you.